Welcome, my name is Juan Cruz. I'm the Dean of the School of Fine Art here at the Royal College of Art. And this is the second in our Visual Cultures lecture series for 2015-16. Last year in the Visual Cultures lecture series, we tried to think about the theme of the contemporary with a range of kind of speakers and theorists, and try to understand what the contemporary might mean to us. We try and theme the series every year, and we decided last year that we'd thought and discovered some interesting things about that. But we wanted, one of the things that the contemporary taught us was really that art today is engaged with many things. And we wanted to try and test that a little bit by asking the question about how art engages with the broader culture, the broader economy, broader politics. And we thought that we would also do that by inviting a range of speakers to come and speak who came from within the art world to some extent, but also who came from outside the art world. And we thought that we might bring people together to generate a discussion, which might be a method to begin to discover some new things through the relationship. Broadly speaking, we've invited someone from within art who has a particular interest in a theme that might be reflected outside art. And we found from someone from outside art who might come in to discuss that theme with that person together, and hopefully have a flow of knowledge that goes both ways. Today's visual culture lecture, where we're very pleased to welcome Suhail Malik and Noboru Hidano, is about, broadly speaking, about economics. And we're trying to think about the relationship that economics might have to art and art might have to economics, to what extent one is influenced by the other and vice versa. It's motivated by a sense that economics govern our lives in quite a significant or very significant way. But I think myself and my colleagues and students here probably rarely talk about economics in their tutorials, and we rarely kind of have lectures about economics, the impact of money, the impact of capital on art or on our lives. And I suppose it might also, it's been a question for me for the last couple of years, why more artists don't make work directly about money, because it seems to me, and anybody who watches and is involved in the art world, that money plays a very big part in how the art world functions, both in terms of the auction prices that we see works fetching, both contemporary and historical, but also I think in the way that we are as public institutions also governed by finances and by money, and we're constantly talking about it in kind of management circles, and yet it doesn't permeate really into the kind of subject that people, into the subject or the work that people are making. And I think this is quite a significant question, particularly when the economic circumstances have shifted as much as they have and continue to shift. It strikes me as being really very interesting that, say, an organization like Tate, for example, that we understand as being a publicly funded organization, is less than 50% funded from the public purse, and yet continues to be, on some level, an exercise, a sort of an instrument, if you like, of the state to further kind of policy around education, inclusion, publicness. And I think there's a big question there. We equally, at the Royal College of Art, like many other universities, have over the last years lost a significant amount, up to kind of 70% of our public funding, and currently we're only 30% publicly funded in the Royal College. Some universities far less. And yet we still adhere to certain regulatory regimes, inspections, etc. And there's a big question, I think, for us in relation to economics about, is it economics, is it public funding that turns it into public bodies, or are there other principles that govern what we do? So it's these kind of questions, I suppose, and others that my colleagues will raise that we want to talk about tonight. And what we've tried to do is to bring people who have thought much more clearly, much more lucidly, much more impressively about these questions, certainly than I have and many of us have, really to try and think about how we might navigate our way through this territory more intelligently, and how we might maybe make more or become more aware of how we might kind of operate within these conditions. So our two speakers tonight will both speak for about 20 minutes, and then I will attempt to moderate a conversation, which we will then open up to questions from the audience. Suhail Malik is co-director of the MFA Fine Art at Goldsmiths in London, where he holds a readership in critical studies. And formerly, between 2012 and 2015, he was visiting faculty at CCS Bard in New York. Recent and forthcoming publications include On the Necessity of Art's Exit from Contemporary Art from 2016, co-editor of Realism, Materialism, Art and the Flood of Rights from 2016 as well as Genealogies of Speculation from 2016, and the Ontology of Finance in Collapse 8, as well as Casino Real 2014. He will be speaking after Noboru Hidano. Noboru is Professor Emeritus and Fellow of the Center for the Study of World Civilizations in Tokyo Institute of Technology. He is an ecological and environmental economist who is well known for his book, The Economic Valuation of the Environment and Public Policy, A Hedonic Approach, Edward Elgar 2002, a leading text in the hedonic valuation approach as pursued in public policy and environmental assessment. Professor Hidano has also advocated the notion of extended self-concept based upon the Eastern idea of self as set forth in a paper, Extended Self, Game and Conflict, in Annals of the International Society of Dynamic Games 2006, and an article, Public Space in the City from the Viewpoints of Extended Self-Concept, A Fragment in Happiness. There's an interesting kind of range of titles that we have coming from our two speakers tonight. He seeks to integrate science, engineering and art education in the overall search for contentment on behalf of the individual and society, based on his half-century of experience in interdisciplinary education and research. So I hope you'll join me in welcoming our two speakers, and you might have some questions for them afterwards. So we're going to start with Professor Hidano. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Juan, and also the Suhail is here to talk with me today, and Anne. And all of you coming here, I'm very happy with you today, and because it's so much rare occasion for me. I'm an economist, so I'm not talked a lot with the artists or art-related persons in the world. So this is also a very exciting moment to me. Okay, so as the Juan Cruz mentioned about, I want to give you some sort of basic ideas of economics first of all, because there are so many misunderstandings about. Okay, so today I talk about. Today's talk is actually 4, but my time to explain is 20 minutes, so I'm afraid I cannot finish it. But first of all, does economics matter? This is very important. And also this award is nominated by the Fear for the Future. This is really important, which I want to talk about it, because we are frightened by the fears, okay? And so, as a second point, how we can be free from this fear. And I want to explain about some new idea to overcome this sort of problem in the future. And thirdly, how art can contribute to this way of change, because we need some sort of change now, right? We cannot continue this way in this 21st century. Right? So finally, I give you some sort of examples of what art can do it now. Or the Black Mountain College experiment, that's 1933 to 1955 in the United States is one of the example, and I directed some project at Tokyo Tech in Tokyo, my university, more than 10 years. So, okay. So the first of all, I talk about does economics matter? It's important thing is you have to distinguish the economics and the economy. Okay, first of all, economics is is important. This is the first one. And the second point, just to the Juan Cruz mentioned about, you have a lot of the pressure from these taxpayers, right, to reduce the public money to use for the arts or something like that. And the third, how we interpret the present economy. This is not economics, economy in the world now. Yeah, it's very important to understand the present phenomenon from the really the rigorous sense of the economics. Otherwise, you misunderstand the situation. Okay, what is economics? Economics is a discipline to pursue the happiness of the people. Okay, this is completely different. Just everybody, most of the people believe economics is a method how to get money, but it is completely wrong. I think the economics basically seeking for the happiness of the people, right? So you artists producing artworks. Of course, there are many reasons to produce such things, but I think you are thinking of sort of the increase of the happiness of the people, right? So this is the important thing, first of all. So how we respond to the pressure from the taxpayers? I just keep mention about it. Okay, in most developed world now, the governments lack money. This is true, everybody know about it. But the people themselves have money. You have to distinguish these two things, right? Government has no money, right? But people has money. I don't know you really understand this point. In Japan, for example, we are one of the richest country, like the UK or the European country, like or this Germany or whatsoever, or the United States. We are very much aged, right? The senior people in Japan have so much money, right? Actually, they are very rich. So, but on the contrary, the government lack of money, as you know, you may not know so much about it. This is really a big contradiction. So people themselves have money, but government doesn't. So this is one of the points. The people who are so worried about the future of their lives and are not willing to pay tax to the government because they become so stingy, they are so fearful about the future, right? So that they ask to reduce the expenditure of public money if this expenditure is not proved to be justified. This is a point you are now facing, right? But how can you justify it? Okay, I have to comment about it. Art has two aspects in economics. You have to distinguish the two things. It's a very important distinction. Many people misunderstand this point. Private good, right? Like he mentioned about the, Juan Cruz mentioned about auction. This is a private good, basically, okay? If somebody have it, other people cannot consume it. If some collector purchase some artwork and they keep it in their private house, they never show it outside people because they like it to see it and such things. This is a private good, okay? And another thing is a public, we call it a public club goods. The people can share the benefits of good, like artwork. We call this their good externality of the good, right? If it is a public in the museum, if you go there, you can see the masterpiece of the many centuries in the world, right? Everybody can join it, right? We call this is a public goods. There are two sides. Artwork has two-sided, okay? Please distinguish these two things, okay? So how to measure the public good externality in terms of money? Private goods in the auction, you can understand how much it is, right? So you can measure it, how it's variable to this person who participated in this auction, right? But public goods are very difficult to prove how much it's really worthwhile for the people. So there are three methods to do so, okay? First method is questioning how people are willing to pay for that artwork or whatsoever, art activity. We call this is a contingent variation method, CVM in short. And secondly, checking the number of people to attend the show of the art, for example, right? We call this is a travel cost method because they have to travel to see that beautiful artwork, okay? And thirdly, analyzing market price related to the artworks. It's something this Juan Cruz mentioned about some part in London, they need some sort of public art and speculation of land prices, right? It's somehow market respond to the artwork, okay? We call this is the hedonic price method, yeah? So we economists have already the tool to measure this sort of the benefit in terms of money. But to implement this sort of method, it's really costly. So it's not so easy to implement these things, all artwork shows or whatsoever, right? So it is so not so much done in the world. But we already equipped such sort of a technique, okay? Please remind about it. How about the market of art? This is a private good aspect of the art, okay? And in most developed world, there is excessive production and good now. Maybe you misunderstand. I will show you some sort of graph later. And people are not so much interested in buying goods anymore, including artwork. That they prefer to keeping money in order to avoid future risks, and they feel happiness by just keeping money in their bank account. I think most of you here, even you are artists, you are very happy if you in a bank account you have 10 added to your bank account. Do you understand what I'm saying, right? You have 10 times more asset in your bank account. You are very happy, right? So this is the point that most of people become so stingy. Just they want to keep money in the bank account. Why? This is they have a fear about it. So we call this sort of why they keep it money in the bank account. We say this is a liquidity, economics terminology. Artwork have this liquidity, right? You artists believe you can sell your artwork very expensive prices because your artwork is very good masterpieces. Yes, maybe so, but maybe not. So this is a liquidity. Is all asset can be has a liquidity. Okay, so I'll show you. This is the happiness increase, but only because of the money increment. Okay, this is this horizontal axis means the money, the supply of money or money. Okay, in the society, and this vertical axis is your consumption or to buy something, right? And in Japan, here it's after the World War II, 1950, we have a small amount of money, we have a small amount of consumption here, right? And 1970 we developed it a lot, and 1980 we become a big peak, and 1990s we are the top stage of that bubble at the time. Can you imagine at the time land prices whole of Japan is double of the United States. Can you imagine that? So we are so rich at the time, right? So this is a peak, right? Now we have a 2015, right? And we have the Bank of Japan, they provide a lot of money in the market. So we have a lot of money, but no consumption here. So we have become happier and happier, but only because we have money. And you may think it's only the phenomenon in Japan, but it is not. UK is exactly the same. And even United States is the same. They provide a lot of money to the market, but no consumption. You understand what I'm saying? So this is people feel they become happier because they have money, right? This is the situation of the world. Okay, then look at here, sorry. This is I come back to the very important point as an artist. What is the price of artworks? It's this horizontal, the axis is the time, and this vertical axis is the price of artwork, right? And this part is a fundamental exchange value. It's a real value. If you let it to somebody who want to rent your artwork 1 year in privately, right? Just rent it. This is we call this is a fundamental value, right? And if you purchase it, you have another value. That is the value of ownership artworks, because then you can sell it in the future, right? So you can get some sort of the increment of money because you have become much more richer if you can sell it higher prices. We call it the capital gains. Okay. So most of the collectors, of course, they love artwork, but they purchase it because of these things. And the price is going up. And something year 2008, like Lehman shock, the price is going down. Not like this one, but it's nearly the same. So always in our capital market and capital society, always we continue to this phenomenon. It's endless, always this. Because this is based upon human beings' fear. So price of money and artwork cannot be secure in the market because people feel that they are not completely guaranteed because of this one. Because price is determined by their people's expectation for the future, right? It should be laid up to some part, okay? And they are happy about it. But this is only expectation. We don't know it will be implemented or not. Okay, so then this fear cannot be solved in our world. It's a developed world, okay? So I think we cannot solve it within our system. It's a very difficult. So are there any alternative ways to be free from fear? This fear is mainly caused by the conflicts. Look at stage. It's a bit the next stage I'm proposing this new idea. So this is so far. This is the economics idea, and just to this the last part which I talk about the prices. This is my friend Yoshio Ono who wrote this book, Money, Interest, and Stagnation in 1994, and published by the Oxford University Press. And he is very much recognized in Japan and some part of Europe, but never recognized in the United States. But this which I showed the graph is the reality. So the United States, I'm sorry, there are some Americans here. I'm sure that the American does not mean that American government, so it's okay maybe. They do not understand what I showed here, right? And they still believe they are perfect, right? But it is not. But only money is increasing, right? No consumption. So we have to look at this reality, and this fear cannot be solved in this way. So what should I do? So how can we be free from fear? So I want to talk about some sort of new conception about we call this I call it the extended self conception. It's a bit different, but I want to explain about it in a much more Eastern idea. It's completely different from the West idea. Okay, this horizontal X is animistic idea or materialistic. Okay, this one, vertical one, is ego or self, and non-ego, non-self. And Western individualism, it's most of the sciences now is based upon the idea of this the methodological individualism. Individual can decide everything, right? So individual is the most important thing, like Descartes or whatsoever you are based upon this idea, right, for many centuries. And but it's some sort of exception. 1980 or something. Derek Parfit he's an Oxford person. He said it's a very interesting book in the philosophy. I think it's better to read it. And he mentioned about it's that the self is not so important anymore because we identify ourselves to ourself, right? But say, for example, our body has many cells, and within 2 or 5 years, every cell except our brain it changed. Do you understand what I'm saying? So 5 years before, you never have the same cell. So you are changing. So how can you identify yourself to the old body, right? So you are already changing. So identification is not necessarily so important anymore. It's a very new idea. So this is one of the idea in the Western world. You are doing this also. And next is he is a North European ecologist, and he proposed, advocated some sort of idea of ecological self. It's extend more wider things. My extended self here, but Iwata, he is a Japanese. He's a cultural anthropologist. He studied many words in some sort of the tribes and so on, and he found himself. It's a many things that is based upon animistic ideas. Okay, so this animistic idea, they are not necessarily individuals are important. It's much more different conception, right? And this is non-ego or non-self. This is a Chinese idea. The doctrine of truth it's a very materialistic idea, and they say there are no self. Actually, there are only gas there, gas. Right? But you cannot believe such things, but there are such idea in the East. Okay. So I want to really extend this sort of idea that vertical axis is a vertical extension. We may think about our ancestors or descendants, or we may talk about the horizontal extension of the non-human beings such as flora, fauna, natural existence, and artificial goods, including art. So this is it. You are here, right? You are here, you are here, okay? But you talk about your father or mother or grandfather or whatsoever. You come back to this, these ancestors. And you have a child, or maybe you don't have a child, but you are making artwork. It's your child, right? So if you think about this one, it's if people are, this is a conflict, because your fear is a conflict, right? You are fear because you'll be lost, or you are lost, or you are die, you are dying, or something like that. But if you think about it, extending yourself, you need not worry about such things so much as you have, okay? And you are now conflicting with one person to the other person. But if you look at that 1,000 years back, your ancestor is the same person. So you are fighting with yourself. And you are maybe it's now person one is conflicting with person B, but your descendant after 500 years, they married. So you are killing yourself. So I'm thinking that your identity is so narrow. I mean, not yourself, I'm talking about general ourselves. So I think it's better to change our mind. So I have some sort of mathematical formulation, and better to really cope with this person who are conflicting with you now. So it's some sort of mathematics I omitted, but then conclusion is very interesting, that if communication cost between two agents conflicting, and the cost of change their idea of happiness are changing, right? Then the whole solution, I prove it, is my friends on Muto, and I published this book 2005 or 6, I forgot. But the conclusion is here, look, here, better to stop conflicts between two agents and to be free from here by strengthening the way of communication and reducing the barrier to change the idea of happiness. I think individuals, you think, okay, I'm doing this artwork, making this work. It's my identity. I can never accept to change my ideas or something like that. But you should be a bit more generous about it, right? And if you can change your idea, what happens? In order to solve it, we have to reduce our cost of communication, and we are better have some space to accept others' ideas, others' happiness. So we need to have the sensibility to listen to the voices of other existence in outer world and our parts of the body, our internal world. Otherwise, we have a living in external world here, but you are living with your cells, right? Your bodies. You think you are very much you are individual, but you can be divided into your pieces of your body, right? Do you understand that in your colon there exist many thousands of bacteria in your colon? Do you know that one? They are helping you. Actually, you are not alone yourself. You are universe. So the point is you have to listen to them, okay? So we also need to have the courage to change the idea of happiness from free from the past, okay? Because our identity is basically based upon our past experiences, right? But if you have courage to change it, you can change because it's you. You can decide by yourself. So then, how can art contribute to the way of changes? Art can provide this sort of the sensibility and courage getting free from the past. Because of the characteristic of art is two things. I think it's so important. It's never happened in other science like economics or natural sciences. It's the creation from nothing. If in front of your canvas, if you are a fine artist, you draw something on the canvas, right? Canvas is white, nothing there. You have to create by yourself from zero. Actually, you are born this morning and you died tonight, right? Because you are changing always. You think you existed yesterday, but it is not. Yesterday is a yesterday, right? So the point, which is creation for nothing, is so important to understand ourselves. And also no right answers. In sciences like economics, we are seeking for the right answers, right? And if it is not right answer, it's always rejected. But only art can show something which are not necessarily right. There are no right answer, I think. So the example of the Black Mountain College experiment in the United States, I think there are very good exercise there and many experimental work, making artworks with collective. I talked a bit about that one. I think that some artists are maybe not so interested to cope with others to work together, but actually it's a point. I think you may change your mind to construct something with others, right? So, but it's very interesting that they do such, and recruiting faculty who have free ideas there. So it's recently I was in Berlin. I look at this show as it's a Black Mountain Interdisciplinary Experiment 1933 to 1957. I think it's very interesting ideas over there. It's about 80 or 90 years before in the United States. So it's a sort of good example. Example 2 is I did it in the Art Tokyo Tech project in my university. I invited more than 100 unique and strong artists all over the world and publishing a Center for the Study which I'm belonging. I make it this one, okay? And it's actually that your dean is here, Juan Cruz. He came to Japan. I invited him, and he taught our students there. We are the Technology and Science University, no artists at all, but they are doing a lot. And one of the students became a curator, I think. He went to the Hunter College in the United States, and it's because of the Juan Cruz. So you can do a lot of things. It's something like that. I show you one of the results of these things. That's a student, it's a mature student of dancing.
そうね、こうなってるとね、そうすると喋って3組は誰だ？長さとかも3組目。
So I think I want to conclude now. The implication of experiments, it's very important to, I think we learn a lot from art and artists, right? And also only you can do it, such things in the present world because we are so much specialized, right? So they synchronize the creation by agent and existence in the external world and by part of our body in the internal world. Listening, looking, touching are most essential. Free from the past, free from the bondage or identity, you need not to show you are different from others. Because if you do not have identity, you need not to show you are different from others. So thank you very much for your coming here with us.